Now it's time for a look back at the week, and I'm joined by two journalists, Peter Kennedy and Pam Casillas. Thanks for your time.
Eliza.
Peter, Julia Gillard's campaigning in Perth today, but she's had a bit of trouble this week fighting both the opposition and those within her party, hasn't she?
Well, she has, and those within her party, I mean, every leader's nightmare. And they say in politics disunity is death, but I think she's handled it reasonably well, and the internal problems, particularly the leaks, that have come up a couple of times during the campaign now. She said initially she wasn't going to comment on the leaks and she wasn't going to comment on Mr Rudd's alleged involvement in the leaks. But when she did sort of break that commitment, when she did call that impromptu news conference, I think it was early in the week in Adelaide, she came out fighting and probably gave her most impressive performance of the campaign.
Pam?
I think that's been, in fact, the message of the campaign so far, hasn't it? It's been so bland, it's been so organised, they've all been so on message that the moment that she departed from the script, if you like, it elevated her entire performance to another level. There's a message in that, isn't there, that perhaps they're too tightly scripted, too tightly controlled, that if they were allowed to answer a question and show a bit of emotion, show some passion, then maybe the electorate might feel a similar degree of passion.
What do you think, though, Tony Abbott this week? He's been very keen since the Liberal Party conference that Peter and I went to last Saturday here in Perth to show that he does indeed, not only does he like women, he loves women, he's surrounded by women. How has he travelled this week?
Well, I think he's had a much better week, hasn't he? He did well on the debate last week. Well, most people seem to think that it was too close to call anyway. So in that sense, he started the week off well. I think the idea of bringing out the wife and the daughter was not a bad one. I mean, we're not silly, are we? We do see through these little ruses. But it certainly did have the effect, I think, that they hoped it would have. It put women back in his life. Good heavens, the man's got 3 children, hasn't he? A wife and 3 girls.
Surrounded by strong women.
Yes,
strong women.
He really doesn't need to prove anything.
And Julie Bishop as well, who said this is the strongest of the lot.
Toughest woman in the parliament.
And right. With a death stare as well.
That's true. Now look, but this week as well, a bit closer to home, the workers that went on strike up in the northwest were threatened, this is earlier in the year, with $28,000 fines each. So big penalties, but it brought the industrial relations debate back into the spectrum, particularly unions. Pam, is this a help or a hindrance for the government?
Well, work choices has been something that Tony Abbott's had to work very hard to distance himself from, apart from killing it and burying it and cremating it. So it does bring the whole issue of industrial relations back into the spotlight, I think. So yes, it does. It certainly gives Labor an avenue of saying, well, you know, look out, this is what will happen.
All right, both of you, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Eliza.